Hello, everyone. How are you? So good to see you. Welcome to State Street's Midweek Update. If you are new with us here, we do a midweek update for State Street Community Church every Thursday afternoon to update you on what's going on in our community, to give you some time with our ministry staff, and just to kind of talk about what's happening in the world and all that kind of fun stuff. We are excited to be here today, and I'm going to introduce my co-host, the incomparable, incredible, always on key, Becky Crane.
Kind, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Hey, Beck, we haven't even talked today. How was your day? What did you do today? Did you have any flat tires?
Nope. No, it was a good day. Just was home this morning working on some stuff and hanging with the fam.
Like what stuff? Like stuff for work?
Yeah, a little bit of work stuff, a little bit of what's going on in the world stuff.
Mm.
You know.
Mm. Did you get
Take the dog a little, talk to the cat, you know.
Is that the stage of coronavirus you're in right now, is talking to the cat?
I always talk to the cat. I feel like she listens to me.
I tell you what, yes, last night, Nora and Emma took our dog Charlie, on a walk, and he came back and he seemed like he was kind of limping, and I started to get really worried because I can deal with a lot of things right now, but I cannot deal with my dog getting sick. So, but I think he's okay. That story ended very less dramatically than I thought it would, but I think he's okay because today he got very excited when I saw him. He wasn't downtrodden.
I did go to Home Depot today to buy some lettuce to add to my garden as well. So that was exciting.
Nice. What kind of lettuce did you get? Kale?
I got romaine, and I got what's it called?
Iceberg?
No.
Spinach?
No. What's it called? I can't remember what it's called. I've grown it before and it grows successfully. So
I'm glad that you're here though, and I'm glad that we get to do this every week. And I'm excited to talk today because I feel like between every time we do our midweek update, the whole world again, and there's just so much to talk. So. But as is our tradition, it's time to do our birthdays and anniversaries because we're really grateful for everyone to be born. I always tell people that I'm grateful that you were born, and I mean that. So on these birthdays, we are grateful for you, and we wish you a happy birthday. These are birthdays in our community, in our faith community, and anniversaries, and then other people that have just been added to our database. So sometimes, do you sign cards that you don't know the people to? I do. Yeah, me too. And I always wonder if they don't know us, and they're going to be like, well, who sent this card? And yeah, whatever. Nobody's going to get mad, right, that they got a card from a church. Hopefully not.
I know. A fit of rage. I do not want this card.
You lousy good doers sending us birthday cards. All right. This week, our birthdays are, drum roll please. All right. Adam John Kahn, happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday. I remember when you were just this little and now you're so grown up. Happy birthday.
CJ Cribbs, Chris Jr., happy birthday.
Chris Jr., who I always have to call CJ. That's our drummer boy.
Yeah, have we settled on that? I know he prefers Chris, I think.
He has told me that he's fine with me calling him CJ. Because
is he fine with me calling him CJ? I think
you have to call him Chris. He likes me better, I think. I don't know. Maybe not.
I call him CJ. He doesn't correct me.
Right. Very gracious in that way. But I've asked him. I said, I know. Is it okay if I still call you CJ? It just comes out of my mouth. And he says, it's fine.
Here's the thing.
He's not offended.
I choose a middle ground. I don't call him Chris. I don't call him CJ. I call him Siege. So
Siege.
It's CEEJ. Siege. Okay.
Mom calls him that.
And then in our database, his fiancee, Jamie Fryer, has the same birthday. Is that true?
I know that they both have birthdays. I noticed when I was filling out the cards. Is it the same day? Let me look.
Well, that's what I don't know if it was a database error.
Right. It does say they're both June 5th. I will see CJ tonight because we're having band practice, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to find out. It's a mystery.
I'm actually.
You're finding out now?
Well, I mean, here's the beauty of the technology that we have. I am texting them, and I have CJ as CJ in my phone. Do you share the same birthdays? Question mark. Okay, I just texted them, and I will let our diligent viewers know. Hey, Julie Merlon Christian, how are you? It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, also, so we got CJ and Jamie. Happy birthday. You guys are getting married this year. We're very excited for you. If you guys have the same birthday, you guys will also have the same anniversary. This is so much fun. And then the ever delightful, one of my favorite State Streeters, Gwen Hollinger. Gwenny.
Gwen, we miss you, Gwenny.
Yeah, happy birthday, Gwenny. Adeline Goodwin, happy birthday, Adeline.
Happy birthday.
Little Josephina Martinez, happy birthday, Josephina.
Josie.
Roger Jackson, happy birthday, Raj. Old man. And we have a couple of anniversaries. Rich and Lita Siri on June 7th. And then Dan and Lynette McDonald on June 8th. Happy anniversary. And then there's an anniversary today. Do you know? What?
I know it is. I know. It's you.
It is. My wife and I's anniversary is today. Do you know how many? Do you know how many years?
I'm gonna say 10.
No. We got married as kids.
14.
15. It's our 15-year anniversary.
Well, guess what I learned?
Yeah, no. So I was.
It's your anniversary.
Did you learn the song by Tony?
Just that part.
Okay. Do you know it just from me singing it?
Not much more to it, to be honest.
No, it's a wonderful song.
Oh, I mean, it's so wonderful.
So yeah, 15-year anniversary today, and very excited about it. I'm really grateful to build a life with my wife and our kids and stuff like that. But going home, I'm gonna make dinner. I got her some stuff. Some flowers, and my wife though isn't the kind that you don't bring dead flowers to. Like, she doesn't like cut flowers. You've got to bring her something living that she could replant. She's amazing at landscaping and planting and stuff like that, and she makes our house look great. But I'm excited about it. My kids are very excited about our anniversary too. It's kind of sweet how they like how much our anniversary it is. So we do have a question today, and thanks everyone for wishing us a happy anniversary. That means a lot to me. We do have a question today for our question of the day. Now you can play along. We'd love to hear your opinions. The question of the week is, what movie makes you cry the most? Now, it's probably no surprise to most people, but I am a crier. I cry in movies. I cry in commercials. I cry in shows. I cry a lot, and I feel things deeply. It's maybe fuels some of my love for justice, but I've been known to cry more than... Well, here, to go back to my anniversary, on my wedding day, I was giving my vows and literally couldn't get through them. As Chris Traeger would say, literally. And I could not get through them. Because I was crying so much. And here's the thing. This will give you the difference between my wife and I. My wife didn't shed a tear. It was a very, very Romanian view of marriage. Very contractual. She knew what she was doing. This was she loves me, and this is what we're going to do. And I'm up there just sobbing. Couldn't get through the vows. And she says to me very quietly, pull it together. Did you cry at your wedding?
I did cry. I cried towards the end of my vows. I started to cry and I had to whisper the last part of the vows because I couldn't get it out. And then I made Joel cry because if I cry, he cries. He is a crier, but he pretends to not be. He always does this, like, there's just something in my eye. But we know that he just feels things, which is great. So I cried and I made him cry, and that's good. Hey, you got to feel your feelings.
Yeah, I've given up on like the toxic masculinity stuff where you can't cry or anything because I've been in so many movies, so many situations where you just need sometimes a good cry. But so what movie, Becky Crane, makes you cry the most?
I had to think about this because I have done my share of crying in movies. I cry in a lot of movies, but the movie that stood out to me that I cried a lot when I saw it, like I just could not stop crying, was Shadowlands, which is the story of C.S. Lewis. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have not. Is it why is it so sad?
Well, because his wife, it's such an interesting story with how he ends up married, and they were more friends when they got married, but they grew to really, really love each other. And then she ended up getting cancer, and she did die. And he, and it's such a beautiful story, and his life's so interesting anyway. But I like my old roommate, who's my best friend from college, Marcy. We were watching it together, and we still remember this. She still laughs at me because we were watching it, and I said, "My neck is wet," because I was crying so hard that it was like going. I couldn't get it off, and I said, "My neck is wet," and she still says that to kind of make fun of me a little bit. That conveys deep emotion when your neck is wet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I like I said, it doesn't even have to be a tremendously sad movie. Like I've been known to cry in like Marvel movies and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. I'll cry at the trailer.
Oh yeah. The movie though that really gets to me. And not a ton of people saw this movie. It doesn't have like the best ratings in this world, but my wife and I watched this movie and we both sobbed at this scene. And I'll post it in our comment links later. But it's a movie with let's see, the cast is Drew Barrymore. It has Kate Beckinsale, Drew Barrymore, Sam Rockwell. Yeah, see, like I'm looking right now on the Googles, and it only has like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it has Robert De Niro, Drew Barrymore, Kate Beckinsale, and Sam Rockwell. It's a movie called Everybody's Fine. It was made in 2009. Have you ever seen it?
I have not.
Okay, so
everybody was not fine.
Everyone was not fine, and here's what gets to me. All right, this is what will make me cry more than anything. When strong old men cry, I lose it every time. My grandfather was a Korean War vet, strong as an ox. Whenever he'd cry, I'd cry just because I didn't know how to emotionally deal with the strongest men in my life crying, Yeah. And when Robert De Niro, he has a scene where he breaks down. It is because of I'll give you know it early on, but he doesn't know it, that his son has died. And he says, "Not my boy." And I'm just sobbing. It's 2009. I'd say at this point, I only had a daughter, but you become a parent and all of a sudden those scenes where a child dying is just too. The other one I would say,
I cannot watch that.
You can't do it? Is that what you said?
No, can't do it.
Oh,
no, I won't.
I see some people commenting on Golden Pond. Good comment. Hey, Cheryl Dolson, good to see you. Tabitha Witten says Green Mile, Forrest Gump, The Notebook, and Breakthrough. Hey, Mr. Schultz, good to see you. The King's Speech. I feel like an idiot that I haven't seen The King's Speech yet. Because I know it's good. Because I think, isn't that the one with Forrest Whitaker in it?
No. Well,
no?
Yeah, Colin Firth.
Oh, Colin Firth. Sorry.
Yeah, I love him.
And everyone says it's beautiful. One of those films that I need to see. I just need to see it in the right mood. But the other one that really gets to me is Slumdog Millionaire. Have you seen that one?
I haven't.
Oh, it just wrecks me every time I see it. And I've only seen it like twice because I know it's so emotionally taxing to see. So, comment whenever you see this, whether you're streaming with us now or later. Comment. We'd love to hear what movie makes you cry the most, and maybe it's one or two movies, but good choices so far that I'm seeing there. A Walk to Remember, Julie says, yeah. That one will get to you, and that has the Switchfoot soundtrack in it. Do you remember that? Yeah. Okay. So a couple. Comments. A Walk to Remember by Julie Moreland Christian. We've got Forrest Gump is a great choice. I cry that one too. The scene where Tom Hanks, Forrest is like, Jenna, you'd be so proud of him, where I'm like, just gets me every time. I don't know why I can't see who that is, but on Golden Pond. Tabitha Witten says Green Mile, Forrest Gump, The Notebook. Forrest Gump's a pretty popular one to hear. So but anyway, good choices. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think? Was this ass movie? So COVID-19. This week we started doing some Zoom meetings with our volunteer teams. We've had meetings with our children's team and our First Impressions team, the ministry teams that will be involved with our Sunday morning experiences and stuff, just to kind of get some opinions. And we started a survey process, and we're trying to get some feedback from everyone on what you guys are thinking on when to start back, when you're feeling comfortable. Not that, will be a group decision necessarily. Our leadership team and staff will help decide this, but we just want to be informed by where everyone else is and some of the things that we're all expecting when we gather together. We would love to do this sooner than later, but we want to do it really wisely. We want to, not just kind of rush into this as we haven't. But we're hoping here probably towards the beginning of July to have our first service back in person. Now, if you are watching this or listening to this, if you can, go to stagestreet.tv/COVID survey and fill out one of our volunteer and attenders and people survey. If you're a part of this church, we want you to fill it out. Fill one out for yourself. Have your spouse or your adult children or whatever fill one out too. The more data we get, the better. And we're going to use this to decide or to at least help us inform for a decision going forward. And that link is, again, stagestreet.tv/COVID survey. And this rollout will probably look like in phases. We'll probably have a first phase where we only have worship in the sanctuary. We don't have kids ministry and stuff like that. And then we'll open it up back to kids ministry, maybe for one service and not the other. And then all these kind of things, because we're diligent about cleaning things up. I don't know, Pastor Becky, have you seen some increases in rates and stuff like that as Memorial Day and the protests and stuff like that, as people are just going out more? Yeah. And they kind of expected to see some of that, but we certainly want to be careful. And even locally, we've had a bit of an outbreak on some stuff, and we want to be careful. So if you can, go to stagestreet.tv. If you're listening to this, stagestreet.tv/COVID survey and help us out and fill that out. And we'd be greatly appreciative for that. Did I miss anything on that, Beck?
Nope.
All right. Last Sunday, Ruth 2. What are your thoughts, Beck? Anything?
I thought it was a great message. Big fan of Ruth. I know I said that last week. It's such an interesting story, but I think the way that you tied it in with what's going on in our world right now was fantastic and very needed. So it was good. It was good.
Yeah. It's funny, we, as you and I both write our messages, you typically write yours earlier than I do. You're more diligent than I am, more disciplined maybe. But it's been really hard to do that, honestly, in the season we're in, because we truly want to speak to the season we're in.
Yes.
And we don't want to ignore everything. We don't want to be Christians that are on the sidelines of our culture in our society. And we believe that Jesus has so much for us to learn today. And so we try to bring that into our weekend messages. And honestly, it's been hard. Not because there's not enough to say. It's just, I don't know. Do you ever find that it's not that I don't have things whirling around in my head, but I'm just trying to sort through it all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to make sense. It's hard to find the right words. It's just, I don't know. I think we're sad too. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to know what to say when you're sad.
Yeah. How would you describe, we've got coronavirus, we've got, the protests going on, we've got just all these kind of things in Washington happening. Where are you at? How would you describe your kind of emotional, sensibilities right now?
I go through variations of emotions. Sometimes I'm angry. Like I said, I'm sad. I had, my daughter and I were having a discussion about this, all the protests, and she actually went to the protest Sunday in Michigan City. And it was a positive experience. She felt like it was a very community-driven experience. I know she left before there was some trouble, and I know there was some trouble, but overall, it was a positive experience. And we were talking about just, how to maneuver this time. And we both started crying. And I said, I feel like I'm going to cry. And she goes, I feel like I'm going to cry. And we both, started crying because we always want to be on the side of justice. And then I watched a portion of George Floyd's funeral this afternoon before I came in. I was watching a bit of it. And again, I felt like I needed to just sit there and be sad. And the thing is, I think so often it's our natural, fight or flight mechanism that kicks in, that we don't want to feel those feelings. So it's easier to just back off because we don't want to feel those. But I think it's important that we feel them. I think it's important that we allow ourselves to be sad, to think hard things, and to be uncomfortable. I think it's necessary. And I think we're better for it moving forward and trying to understand how to process and how to be people that are people of action towards justice.
Yeah. And I love that. In that story, implicit in that story is you did that with somebody else, right? I think that's really important, is to, and maybe one of the things that we're missing the most right now is, as a community, being together, actually physically being able to deal with some of these things together, because there is something to be said to, even if we're not always in the same place. Right. There's something to be said when you're breaking bread together, when you're across the table from each other, when you're sitting by each other, to know that you do want the same things in life.
And I agree with you. I don't want to just sound like, it's all doom and gloom. I'm encouraged by a lot of what I see as well. And I have to gravitate towards that as well. But I can't just jump to all the good stuff. I have to sit in that sorrow also. We have to.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that we talked about on Sunday, if you haven't listened to the message yet, is Christianity as a faith called to good neighboring. And over and over in the scriptures, over and over, is about how we treat others, right? What I loved about Ruth in that second chapter was that it wasn't just about, the kinsman redeemer type of thing. Boaz comes in and saves, these poor women. It was about Boaz being a good neighbor, but also him recognizing that this woman has been a good neighbor to her mother-in-law, right? Like that she left her family, she left everything she knew, she left her culture, she left her language, she left her, they would even say gods, to come to a different place, because she so believed in the sake of taking care of somebody else, and that's just so meaningful to me, to see that in there, to say, here are these, women who lost everything, but they didn't really, because they still had each other. Right. And sometimes that's all we have is each other, even when everything seems to be crashing down. But we can't, like you said, we can't minimize the encouragement of what it is to have each other. Because I don't know about you, but having a staff like I do, and having a leadership that I do, and having friends that I do, that have helped me make sense of this life in this crazy season, it is. I don't ever want to lose sight of how encouraging it is to have people. So also. One of the things we talked about is we asked the question of how we treat people. but also not just how do we treat people, because again, there's the right actions, there's the orthopraxis of everything, and we talk about that a lot in Christianity. We ought to be kind, we ought to be compassionate, we ought to be forgiving, we ought to be merciful, but also kind of about the orthopathos of it. How do you feel? And I think that's a really important component, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes.
Because I think going back to your point earlier with your feeling of sadness and things like that, I do think we sometimes have to wrestle with right Christian feelings as well, because I think it's scary sometimes to let our emotions kind of go, because we can't contain them sometimes, right? We don't know where they're going to take us. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I think that's the wind that the Spirit of God uses in our life to get us to a place, So, another thing that I talked about was gleaning, this idea of gleaning in the Old Testament, which is kind of where people behind, essentially you have people cleaning the fields, taking good stuff. But in the Old Testament, Yahweh told the people of God, that they need to leave stuff in the fields for those who are hungry. So purposely leave things for those who are hungry, so that everyone has something. Sometimes we get bogged down in the Old Testament, and it can seem kind of unfeeling and unemotional. But I also love kind of pointing out the sometimes moral and ethical, what are almost progressive ideas there, to say everyone should have something, and people shouldn't go hungry. And Boaz even takes it further, obviously, to say, don't just give her the scraps, let her have good stuff too. So,
I know, I love that.
Yeah. So then we talked about, Galatians 3, and then one of the things that I think I really wanted to get to, because again, we talk about love a lot. It is for us the primary virtue of Christianity, but also love has to have action. And so one of the things we talked about on Sunday, and if you haven't listened to the message, I encourage you to go to do it. It's a great service as a whole. Our worship team did a great job. Becky did a great job. But is that love ought to also have action to it. And I give 3 ideas, but they're not the only 3 ideas, obviously, to have action for the love that we have. But in this season, 3 of the ones that I'm thinking through are how to be humble. I think we all, especially me as someone who's very privileged, who is a 6'5" white guy that comes from a very white community, who has learned a lot, though, from Black pastors and Black leaders. I also want to be humble enough to know when it's my time to speak and when it's my time to listen. And that's really hard for me to navigate, but trying to figure out when is a good time to speak and when is a good time to listen. Because I also don't know it all. I mean, that's a funny statement, but I truly don't, about racial relations, about and I am learning so much, and I'm peeling back layers of my own, messed up kind of understanding of things.
We don't know what we don't know.
We don't, and I want to be humble enough to realize that I don't know what I don't know, and none of us do, and we don't know things. There are things we don't know, and it's okay to admit that, and it's okay in this season of kind of craziness to admit we might be wrong about some things.
Right. And accept that pushback when we're wrong and not be offended by it, even if it stings a little, even if it's embarrassing a little. Accept that we might be wrong, and maybe we can learn something. Yep.
And if nothing else, you might be able to understand somebody better who disagrees with you, right? Because maybe you'll come over to the other opinion, but maybe you won't, and that's okay too sometimes. But you should have empathy for people that disagree with you, but have you understand where they're coming from. You can walk in their shoes. You can understand how they got there, and hopefully, if you can understand where somebody got there, then the anger that you have for disagreements, or the fear maybe that you have, can dissipate because you understand why they think what they think. You get it, and I think a helpful way, not in a I understand why you think what you think. You're fooled, you dummy, kind of thing, which is what Becky tells me all the time. You silly white man.
Yes, those are the exact words I used to you.
Daily.
To be fair, you are pretty silly.
I am. I got a lot of silliness in here. Lots of silliness. The second thing we talked about, one of the actions, is listening well. Again, being humble, but also listening well. Don't interrupt. Hey, Beck, you probably say, yeah, I've had this conversation with me. Had a conversation with someone where you're talking about something important and you're going back and forth in the conversation, but you know they before you even made your point, they already have their rebuttal.
Yes.
And you wonder, what's even the point of this?
Right.
Because
dialogue.
We're playing tennis here. We're not talking. Yeah. And it's frustrating, right? Because and I have to check myself, right? Because I need to listen. I need to listen well. I need to hear, because sometimes we get so, I think, and I think pride is the word, so prideful about what we know that we want to immediately retort with, our axioms and our safe answers. And sometimes what we need to do is just listen.
Yeah. Amen.
And then thirdly, be hospitable. Obviously, it's in one of Paul's instructions, be hospitable. And for me, what is one of the things that looks like is what do your friend groups look like? Do you have a diverse group of friends? Do you have different races in your friend groups? Do you have different cultures? Do you have different, people of different economic backgrounds? And that can be hard, harder here than it is, let's say, in a bigger city. But I do think it's really vital and really important. One of the things I've loved about our discussion over dinners is that when we were doing them, we can introduce our community and ourselves, race or a different culture or a different belief system, because it is important for all of us to learn from each other and to know each other in a community so that we can love each other well. Again, go back to Ruth, right? Ruth comes from Moab, a place with different gods, a different culture, different languages, and becomes a dear neighbor to her mother-in-law. In a timeline or in a narrative that she should have never married her husband, quite frankly. Yeah. So, which again is a mess, but it's so important. And God worked in that, and God taught so many things through that, and God redeemed so much of that and restored it. And I believe He does in our friendships as well. So, anything else about this last weekend, Beck?
Nope, I think that's good. But you did mention, I thought my worship team did awesome.
Yeah.
It was super fun.
And can you give a shout out to our tech team too? Because they've been just
absolutely, they have been fantastic. In fact, Mike Atwanowski and Jason doing some extra work right now, getting lights in order and getting stuff done. And thank you.
Yeah, to kind of give everyone some background, we are switching some stuff up in the sanctuary right now. Tech-wise and sound-wise and stuff like that, so that when we do services again, it might look a little different and sound a little different, but we're hoping to do those improvements now while nobody's really in there. So, hey, Kathy Rumba, good to see you. I see Kathy Rumba's stream.
Hello!
All right, this Sunday coming up, 10 o'clock, State Street. Don't be here, but please do stream with us. And we're going to be in Ruth 3. If you want to read it beforehand, not very long, but you can read it. And if you haven't listened or watched our service from last week, I encourage you to do it. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can watch the whole service, or our SoundCloud's not updated yet because we had some glitch there, but we will have it uploaded. I'll try to get that uploaded today, and you can listen. Yeah. All right, announcements. Don't forget, if you can, please fill out our survey. Go to statestreet.tv COVID survey and fill that out for us. The more information we have, the better, so that we know when and how and stuff like that, and what everyone's thinking. There's a chance that we have to kind of not limit, but maybe limit attendance when we start back to socially distance and stuff like that. So it's helpful for us to know who's going to be there right away, who's not. And it's really important, Beck, and please affirm this, we're okay with wherever people are at, right? If you're not going to be here for months, it is okay. We are not judging you. We are not rushing you back or anything. So I just want to make sure that people know there's no right or wrong answer to this.
No.
And everyone.
People have to make the best decision that works for them, that makes sense to them in their situation. So
absolutely. So our last section, as we started last week for the first time, and we'll stop streaming after this. What's on your mind this week, Beck? What's on your mind?
Didn't we already talk about that?
No, here's the thing is you're supposed to think of something or bring something to, oh wait, no. We have one more thing. We were going to talk about resources, right? Resources for people, because we've been having a lot of people ask us about maybe books or things to learn more about becoming anti-racist and stuff like that. And you put together a resource list or just some books and stuff, and we can put that out for people. What are some of the ones that you found helpful?
One of my favorites is Austin Channing Brown. I really enjoyed her book, I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness. And aside from that book, which is an excellent book, she just has great social media resources right now. She's putting out new content every day. So if you follow her, she's giving things for people to read. So that we can do the hard work of racial justice, which isn't easy. I think a lot of times what I hear from a lot of people of color is, meaning well, a lot of us white people come and say, well, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. And they're like, it's our responsibility to do the hard work, to learn, to study, to figure out what it is we're supposed to do. That is on us. And so I have found her to be just a good right now resource. I would say Maya Angelou, you cannot go wrong with her. Her book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Sometimes, and we talk about that a lot here, how important story is. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's good to just enter into someone else's story. And it's hard for us to understand where someone else is. But if we're able to enter into their story, it allows us to see things a little bit differently. I'm looking at what other people are reading and following for my own, like trying to figure out what I'd like to read next. You had mentioned, you posted the other day about Latasha Morrison. Yep. She's got some great stuff. Lisa Sharon Harper, who I've always been a fan of, she does a podcast. It's a live stream that's on right now. They already did it, but you can making some work together that's out there. On my list of what I would like to read next, based on people that I respect and what I'm seeing is, this is something to read, is the book How to Be an Anti-Racist. And you've probably seen that out there too by, I don't know if it's Ibram X. Kendi. Yep. It is hard to find right now. It's sold out in most places, but you can get it on Kindle. And then I'm also wanting to read the book White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. Those are the two on my list that I have not read, but I'm seeing people that I respect and follow that they are reading them. And then if you want to give, to organizations, the Together Rising is a great organization that helps kind of funnel into different organizations that are doing good work of justice. And one of those organizations is the National Bailout, which is kind of funneling funds to where it needs to go.
Okay. Can you send me all of that, and we can put them in list format, and we can link the show notes?
That's obviously the tip of the iceberg. There's I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Can you hear me now?
I got you. What? Huh?
That's the tip of the iceberg. There's so much good info out there, but it can be overwhelming to know, how do I start? Where do I go? And so I try to follow the people that I trust already and see what they're reading. So
one of the things I would also recommend doing is going to our YouTube page and watching the discussion over dinner on the Black American or the Black experience in LaPorte County. I thought that was a very informative kind of look and conversation from Black LaPorteans, Black LaPorte Countyans. So, I still use things that we talked about in there that I learned from friends there in that conversation, and it still rings so true, so fresh to me on some of those things. So, if you're wanting something even hyper local, you can go check that out again, and it's a very good, I think, conversation and very helpful. Yeah, and somebody asked on my Facebook, there's some people interested in doing a study on Be the Bridge. There's actually a formalized kind of curriculum about that from Latasha Morrison,
okay.
And maybe we can look into that, Beck, and maybe host that or something. Huh?
Oh, absolutely. That sounds wonderful.
Okay. So we'll update everyone on that if there's people interested in that. We do have a question from Amy Warner. She says, can we have that discussion over dinner again? Yes, we would love to. We would love to have another one on the Black experience in LaPorte County again. But we are not having discussion over dinners yet. One of the things that we've thought about doing is have guests even on our midweek update and having other in this conversation with us. Add that there while we're navigating social distancing and all of these kind of fun things that we're doing. But we do, I can speak only for myself right now, but I am looking forward to one day getting back to discussion over dinners. They are just one of my favorite things that we do, and I find them so helpful.
Yeah, Joel's already thinking about menus, so.
Oh, good. Does he want to make me an anniversary dinner?
I can ask him. All we can do is say no.
Can he have it ready by 5?
You know what? When I left home, he was working pretty hard, and it seemed like it was not the best day for him.
Was he working hard or hardly working, as my dad would say?
No, he was working pretty hard. He had a lot on his plate today. So,
do you want to give him? Will you give him a hug for me?
Absolutely, I can do that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then
he's got his little beard, and I told him that today. I'm like, you're pretty handsome today.
Because I got a beard too. I don't know if you noticed, but
we did. He's a very hipster.
Yeah. Is it hips? See, I'm struggling. Do I look hipster or do I look crazy?
No, I think it looks good. I have yet to get a haircut since it's all started. So
because I tiptoe and straddle the line between do I look like a hipster or am I slowly growing into the Unabomber?
I don't know. I think it looks good.
and there's so much. I don't know if you can see it. Just so much gray in there now too.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I've got a gray strand over here somewhere.
You got like a gray hair, Crane. Just stop. I'm slightly younger than you and have so much more gray. It's not fair.
Slightly younger, yeah.
Slightly. Well, I didn't want to be mean there. Again, I'm trying to be nice. Remember?
I appreciate it.
Hey, we want to thank you again for listening today. Thank you so much. Happy birthday to everyone that it's your birthday. Happy anniversary to everyone that's your anniversary. We hope you enjoyed these conversations. We did get some feedback this week from some people in our Zoom conversations that have really enjoyed these. And I don't know about Beck, but I really enjoyed doing them. I like kind of reliving some of the things that we talked about in the last week and just also having a different kind of format for teaching and discussion. So, please do share this stuff with your State Street friends and make sure that people are keeping in the loop on stuff. And we love your comments. Please do comment, and we'd love to hear more from you. If you have any questions, please send it to Becky or I, and we will answer them in our midweek update next week or whenever you send it to us. And we love you guys, and we look forward to seeing you soon. And have a good week.